come here and learn about this, I'm asking all of you guys to really participate in helping to guide this trend. Buy the vehicles, use the vehicles, figure out how to better use the vehicles, sit on activities that help us redefine the vehicles. Join us all. So Magna eCar is part of a series of professional organizations that are helping set the standards. But we can't just set the standards. I drive a plug-in. I plug in a vehicle every night myself. I have battery electrics and hybrids, and I really have seen and been able to do a lot of changes. But the majority of you will really start to say, here's the utility I see. So we have the president of PHEV is Ted Robertson. He's our North American president. He sits on these. Bob Gallion sits at SAE. Join the teams, join the committees, join EPRI, the Infrastructure Working Council. I mean, if you're interested in this, you can get in and be able to voice some of the things that we really need to go forward with. So I wanted to thank everybody for letting me be here, and we go to the next piece.
Thank you, Kevin. Wonderful presentation. And as I was sitting there and you were winding it up, I thought back to 2 years ago this October when we first started looking at the business of plugging in. And you defined so many of those business models. There's so many opportunities, so many challenges, and so much work to be done. But Frank, with his commitment to E-Systems and taking that plunge of really going after the systems or going after the business. See Debbie Schills walking through the question cards. Please feel free to fill those out. I look forward to those. Our next speaker is Eric Partington. Eric is Global Director of Product Strategy for Lear's Electrical Power Management Systems Division. And as Eric comes up here again, one of these companies that 3 or 4 years ago, we heard a lot about new startup companies coming into the business, new companies that were going to displace the old companies, the traditional automotive suppliers. I think from Kevin's presentation, and I think from Eric's coming forth, you'll see the traditional supply base is really driving this business. Eric?
So next I'm going to touch briefly on the differences of plug-in electric vehicles over standard hybrid vehicles and kind of what that means in terms of some of the guts that make these vehicles go. This is maybe a little bit tough to see, but on the far left-hand side you've got a kind of a traditional schematic of a hybrid electric vehicle. And as you move across the slide from left to right, you move to a plug-in hybrid, an extended range electric vehicle, and then a full battery electric vehicle. And what you can see is that regardless of what type of plug-in vehicle you are planning to bring to market, there's differences relative to a base hybrid electric vehicle. The biggest technical challenge is probably in the battery, as you have to have larger batteries to extend the range of these vehicles to be able to drive all electric miles. But also you have a larger, more powerful inverter, more powerful e-motor as you get to higher and higher powers with less assist from an internal combustion engine. But of significance is the addition on all these vehicles of a charging system. That includes the EVSE, the battery charger, the charge port or receptacle on the vehicle, and all of the fusing and wiring that goes into executing that system. And the last point here is that as you go to more and more electric miles, all of these systems get larger, heavier, more costly to be able to execute those. So you have to be able to have some trade-offs to execute those. When we look at charging systems, we break it into kind of these three main product categories. The electric vehicle supply equipment. This is a product that Lear supplies. We supply it for multiple OEM customers. But I'm going to focus today on battery chargers. I know we've got some other electric vehicle supply equipment people are going to deep dive that in more detail. But battery chargers is really a bread and butter product for Lear. We deliver a product in a range of power levels that can support all of these different vehicle types that I mentioned. And to be able to execute a battery charger, there's three main electrical components within that battery charger. First, there's a power factor correction to make sure you're getting all the power out of the grid that you can. Then you have to rectify, take it from AC to DC, and finally you have to be able to adjust it with a DC to DC converter so that you're delivering the right power levels to charge that battery. Chargers come in 3 levels. Level 1, these are kind of the SAE specifications. Level 1 is defined as a 120 volt or 110 volt standard outlet input to the vehicle and is limited to about 16 amps. So that limits the amount of power and the speed with which you're going to be able to recharge a vehicle. Level 2 takes you up to the 240 volt range. This is kind of the maximum power that's in most people's houses, and is limited at 80 amps, which takes you to a 19.2 kilowatt rating. But there's a practical limit there too, and I want to talk about that, of what's really available in people's houses and what makes sense to be able to deliver around vehicles. We think that limit's in about the 9.6 kilowatt range. I'll explain that more in a moment. And then finally, level 3 is the off-board charging. This is where the charger is no longer on the vehicle. It's off in a gas pump-like type of product. And now you can get to higher voltages available from the grid, with those standards being a 480 volt input. But that standard's still in development right now. But typically we think those are going to be basically greater than 20 kilowatts of charging. And we see, based on the current standards that are out there, Japanese standard for the connector, being limited at about 50 kilowatts.
Figure out what's the right business model and what are some of the business aspects of what you're dealing with. So we're really dedicated to this. A lot of what we're doing right now is bringing together the stakeholders. And I want to give you a great example of that. This past year, we brought together many stakeholders in 3 markets around the world at sessions we call the Clean Tech Ignition Sessions. In a partnership with our Clean Tech group and our automotive group around the world, we were able to bring many people together in Munich, Germany, in Shanghai, China, and in San Jose, California, to have 2 days of very intense dialogue on many topics that are important to all of us as electric vehicles. We call these sessions electrification of transportation, from vision to reality. And we talked about the customers, we talked about the value chains, the suppliers, and of course the infrastructure issues that companies are challenged by. And this has really been a terrific opportunity for us to gain insights and be able to share our points of view around these various topics. So we have a copy of this available at our booth. We hope you'll stop by and visit us. It's got a terrific diagram in the center of it on the electric vehicle value chain, which I think you'll all find very interesting to post on your wall, and kind of track where all the different segments of what's happening today. But first of all, lastly, I'd like to say thank you for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this again. Please stop by the exhibit, pick up this piece along with others that we have, and I think this is a really important conference in connection with the transformation forward of this electric vehicle, which we all believe has a significant role in the future of this industry. So again, thanks for being here tonight and for joining us. We're delighted to be sponsoring this event, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great conference.